So clearly there's a lot of stuff going on in government, very much at the surface. One of the ironies that's going on right now is that the stuff has been going on behind the scenes for decades, if not centuries, and now it's coming to the surface, and so people who've never been involved in politics directly are becoming involved in politics. Which is incredible, because whether we want to be involved in politics or not, politics is involved in us. It controls our rent prices, it controls what food we have access to, it controls how that food is grown, and that's just the very tip of the iceberg. What our current government seems to be doing, we have been ruled by oligarchy for a very long time, and what our current government seems to be doing is, in the dying throes of trying to hold on to this very short-sighted methodology of controlling a populace, which you can see why the systematic defunding of public education, the rising cost of colleges and advanced education that would allow us as a country to have people who are highly educated and capable of doing, great engineering feats or something. What they seem to be doing is, instead of thinking systemically about, okay, how do we create a stronger economy? How do we make sure that our populace is healthy and powerful and taken care of? What they seem to be doing is taking the bad parent approach of, let's mosh this down. See, there are a couple of reasons why this is a very interesting tactic with a society who has this level of, I'm going to air quotes here, technological advancement or innovation. So, on one hand, we have a population who has gotten very comfortable and likes things like running water and electricity as a mass. So we have government. So government is not this side note here, really quick. Government is not business. Government exists to make the lives of its citizens make more sense, right? Government is supposed to provide us roads and public transportation that gets us to places. Government's supposed to, ideally provide us with easy access education or a safety net to support when economy fails individuals and they fall out of the system. Ideally, government works as a safety net to help them engage back with the system, because when we're engaging with the system, especially in a capitalistic-based society, unless we are actively producing units, we really aren't economically viable. Therefore, one of the main arguments for us having a government in the first place is to provide these services that offer us protection, not just militarily, but also like health-wise and mentally and yada, yada, yada. Now, how that pertains to today is the people who are currently in power have seemed to have forgotten, for the most part, they have forgotten why our government exists. This is quickly building their coffins. Because when you have a system that has provided a certain level of comfort, and then that system gets taken over by people who forget the reason why they got those jobs in the first place, and then you collectively piss off people that have been very intentionally driven apart, and now you find what was a very bipartisan, like, oh no, we can't work together kind of thing, people reaching across the aisle to come work together because you're messing up in your job so badly that people can get over all of their isms, something's up. So you might be asking, Anna, what does this mean now? What does this mean with what's going on around us? What this means is that the social safety nets that millions of people, Americans, and actually a whole bunch of people across the world have been led to rely on, as those things are systematically being taken away from us under the false guise of government efficiency or all this stuff. If they were going after efficiencies, they'd be going after defense contracts and the Pentagon that dog don't hunt. So what is happening is millions of people are being left without resources that they have had a secure pipeline to up until this point. For example, USAID, which is fundamentally a very questionable organization, still has very real people working within the system. taking that away now leaves 10,000 plus people without a source of income in a society and a world where you have to have income in order to have a roof over your head, water to drink, a place to plug your phone in, and also food. That's a huge gap that's going to directly impact a lot of people, and that is one organization out of many that are being absolutely gutted. The organizations are important, yes, but even more important than that is the people that these organizations and these paychecks support. And that's not even talking about the economic impact of taking away thousands of people's worth of salaries, thousands of people's worth of spending ability, and removing that from the local businesses, whether they're chains or true independent local businesses. That's not even touching on that. That's not even touching on the insecurity and the mental health and the health implications of having that stress load go through the roof, because now you don't know what you can do legally because federal government's threatening action, or like you don't know what you can do, and uncertainty is like super uncomfortable and not a mentally like it's hard to live in uncertainty. Anyway, keeping an eye on the people that are actively being harmed and thrown into a very unhealthy uncertainty. If you've listened to me talk at all, you have heard that I'm a massive proponent of a triple bottom line standpoint, because it makes us stronger in assessing the assets that we do actually have to work with. So triple bottom line is businesses, or you can even do it individually, people who focus on more than just a financial standpoint. They also focus on impacts in community and how you can build reciprocal relationships with community, and the same with the environment, because that is a much truer assessment of what is actually going on around us. It's called triple bottom line economics if you want to dig into it on Google. Taking this lens and looking at the stuff that's going on now, I feel like there's some very clear action items that come from this. And girl, I love some action items, so let's go. So in these action items, let's look at the things that we need. We need shelter, we need community, because loneliness is one of the top killers of people. So we need community, we need shelter, we need clean air, ideally, clean water, ideally, and good sources of food. Well, let's figure out how to do this when our economic system is failing, because the global economic implications of alienating our allies truly is that the US dollar, which is a whole cluster in and of itself, falls out of power. So then you have things like inflation, and not inflation like we've been experiencing where it's single-digit percentages, but inflation where suddenly instead of an ottoman costing $30 or $100, it's going to cost $300,000, as happened, for example, with the Chilean peso, the German mark, yada yada, their example. This turns where we are now, the transition point, into a yes and situation. Yes, we need to engage with a capitalistic system to keep the semblance of our society going, and also because it's much easier to trade, $1,500 worth of rent in, cash or some digital money than it is like $1,500 worth of string beans. But that's only part of the picture. The other pieces of this picture are who do you know and what communities can you engage with that grow food? What talents and skills and anything from listening to building stuff do you have that you can contribute to the world around you? Look for ways to sidestep a dollar-only mindset. That is probably the strongest thing that you can do in this moment of massive economic and societal uncertainty, because when you get to know people, you build community, and you feel that you're not alone. Now, when you feel that you are not alone, it is more likely, or you will feel more comfortable in taking steps to actively influence things. When your bottom tiers of a hierarchy of needs are met, and you know that you are not going to be left alone and stranded by yourself in the middle of the field because you have a whole bunch of armor buddies on the left and right of you, you are more likely to advance forward and tackle something that can be incredibly scary, like the massive machine or wonky whatever is going on in the U.S. government on a federal, a state, and a very local. So action item number 1, know that you are not alone. Action item number 2, start looking for ways that don't take money to get your needs met and to meet the needs of others. Action item number 3, engage in this cluster that is our government, because our government, no matter what you think of it, manages a lot of resources. So as we have a government that manages a lot of resources, it would behoove us to take notice of the people who are managing these resources and how they think. So right now, we have a lot, not all of them, but we have a lot of people in charge of things that are just kind of flip-flopping around and not really doing anything. This is a massive issue because not doing something is as bad, if not worse, maybe, than doing something that goes against common interest or taking care of people. So as we are taking note of who these, they call them lame duck, who these lame duck politicians are, it is important, here's action item 5, 6, and 7, it is important to note who they are for. It is important to note what offices that they are in. 5, it is important to then replace them. That means people who don't entirely have their head up their butt. You can have your head part of the way up your butt and still be better than what we have going on. We need to make sure that we aren't just taking people out of office that are the problem, but we need to make sure that we are putting people in office who either are not the problem, are actively taking steps to not be the problem, or better yet, are the solution to at least one or two of the problems that we have going on. This means that we need people who feel supported enough, who are empathetic enough to see issues that are going on, see and listen to solutions, and are brave enough to implement these solutions when we are in this moment of transition where it will take strength, it will take endurance, it will take audacity and community to be able to shift the inertia of what is currently going on to go somewhere else. And we in community, and only in community, can do that. So action item, right? Realize you're not alone. Find community, find ways that you can engage in this community and build for the common good, because when we have the common good, we get things like wheelchair ramps, we get things like clean water on massive scales, we get things like lower rent prices directly relating to us and how we live and our quality of life. And as community builds stronger, at the same time, we need to put people in office, in positions that are currently filled by, there's so many adjectives I want to use, but I'll get censored. They're filled by lame duck politicians. Eyeball these people, identify these offices, support community in stepping into these, and make sure that people who are empathetic enough to understand the implications of their actions are able to step into these offices. There are organizations, Emerge Colorado is one of them, Run for Something is another, and that is just two on the tip of the iceberg that helps normal, quote unquote, normal people step into these political offices. It is a daunting thing to do, but it is not impossible. If all of these mediocre white people can do it, then the rest of us can do it too. Please forgive anything wonky in the captions. I'm not proofreading any of them. These are just thoughts that have been rumbling around in my mind. And like, if the tagline, if so many mediocre white people can do it, then we can do it too isn't specific enough for you. How about if Lauren Boebert can do it, then you can do it too. Because, dear God. And if you have any questions, or you don't know where to start, or you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out to me. If you're watching this, we are in community together, and it is important for us to be able to have these connections. And if I don't know the answer, I'm pretty good at finding information, and so we can go on a whole scavenger hunt to find information, and we'll start there. because right now, although there are moments of inaction that are needed as we rest and recharge to run this marathon, there are plenty of actions that can be taken for all sorts of ability levels. So if you don't think you can, that is an absolute hallmark to know that you are the person that we need and who can fundamentally do the thing. So reach out. Let's talk.